On this week's episode of Facts of Fishing, Dave leaves the boat at home and tries to beat the bank for some big bass. If you ask me, I wish this bonehead would just beat it for good.
Whoa, flying fish. Ooh, he's bad breath. There, go.
I'm Dave Mercer, pro angler and all-round fishing big mouth. Today, I've got one day on one body of water, and I am surrounded by cameras. Unfortunately for me, but fortunately for you, they're going to show you everything that happens, and I mean everything.
Son of a...
Welcome to Facts of Fishing, the show. Brought to you by Subway, Eat Fresh. Shimano, technology you can feel. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Live Target Lures. And Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Without further ado, here he is. I can't say this.
Just read the script.
The world's greatest angler, Dave Mercer.
Sorry guys, not going to be any of that business this week. This week, I'm staying on the bank. That's right, I'm fishing a pond. You guys asked for it, now you get it. Roll the shore show. Shore show. Say that 5 times fast. Shore show, shore show, shore show, shore show, shore show. Try it, I'm not kidding. It's incredibly hard.
Hey, you know, one of the most important things when you're fishing from shore, whether it's a river or a pond like we're fishing here today, is you have to tread lightly. Noise is a huge key. Whenever you're out in the water in a boat, we always talk about, you know, using your Minn Kota and just slowly creeping along. Well, now we don't have our Minn Kota, we have our feet. But don't get excited and come thumping along the shore. Just sneak up on these fish. And yes, that's right, in case you noticed, I am definitely using a creepy golf announcer voice, but it helps me catch fish. I'm cool with that. Another little key with this style of fishing is these lure wraps. It really is key. If you're gonna be walking around, I mean, lure wraps are important when you're on the boat, but if you're gonna be walking around, I mean, all those treble hooks are swinging back and forth close to your thigh. Really important. Anytime you're using a treble hook bait, when you're walking the bank, get a lure wrap on it, or else you get a bait in your butt. Now, I don't care who you are or what you're fishing for, where you're from. Baits in the butt are no fun. Avoid the bait in the butt. You know, fishing on small bodies of water is no different than, you know, fishing on giant lakes. I always try to start with a fast-moving bait, something that I can cover water with really quickly. And right now, I'm just using a little wake bait. It's basically this, you know, little live target tilapia. And it's a jointed bait. It's got a crazy little action on it and lots of thump, and you'll see that on the end of my rod, just boom, 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 as I reel that bait back to the boat. But what this bait's gonna do is basically give me a pulse, give me an idea of what kind of mood these fish are in. If I can catch them with a fast-moving bait, hey, that's always gonna be my first choice. Oh, I just got swatted at. Had a few fish swat at this little wake bait, but the way they're chasing it, it's like they want something slower. And as I always say, it's a never-ending learning experience. There is no set in stone approach to fishing. There's certain approaches that work, but fish change hour to hour, day to day. There's fish. Look at this little punk. You are not large enough for this television show. What are you thinking? Get back in there and grow. You know, the crazy thing about that fish is with this very lure I've shown in seminars, and I've had people say to me, wow, I think that lure's too big for where I fish. And that fish just proves to you that, you know, we're dealing with a creature that's a brain the size of your pinky nail. They don't really understand size a lot of times. They see something and they eat it. And that little guy just did that. Try something a little slower. I'm going straight up to the ultimate pond fishing bait of all time, the Ocho. There, fish. Oh, a little guy. Told you this is the ultimate pond fishing bait. They can't say no to the Ocho. There it is. I'm cheap, so I'm going to use the same bait over again. Whoa! Flying fish. Nothing to see here, folks. See, now if that fish was bigger, that hook set would have been perfect. There's fish in there, them there trees. Set the hook, knocked over that willow. Oh yeah, it happened. You saw it. One of the hardest parts about fishing from shore for me is leaving all my tackle in my boat. But as you can see, I try to bring as much of it as I can. There, go. Oh. Look at that thing. Oh boy. Mule. You know, most people when they come to a pond, they just assume, hey, we're going largemouth fishing. And while this thing is majority largemouth, as you can see, I can't get away from smallmouth. Come here, dude. You are a giant. Look at the size of that dude right there. Ooh, an absolute mule. I threw that little swimming jig through there and he could not resist it. Man, what an awesome, awesome fish. I don't care where you go bass fishing, that right there is a big smallmouth bass, especially from a pond. One sexy, sexy looking smallmouth. Get him back in. There's another one. Ate it, the swimming jig. Oh. Starting to put a plan together. You are not the right size, but picked up this swimming jig just a few minutes ago. Something I can cover water with. You know, started with a fast moving crankbait and a few little ones, but they were swatting at it. They weren't eating it. And then they slowed it right down with the Ocho. I just didn't feel like I was covering enough water. But in the last few minutes, I picked up this little swimming jig and I'm literally just swimming this along and I caught a few. Oh, I had another one, man. Oh, look what he did, he stole one of my little rage craws. How come the one you're looking for is always the last one? That's not the right color, but it'll do. How I rig these little rage craws is I just bite a little bit off, you know, maybe an inch, and feed it right back up there. Again, you want to make sure that it is totally straight because it will affect how your bait swims through the water. Kind of like a mix of a crankbait meets a swim bait. I mean, all you do is fire it out there, let it sink a little bit, and you can either, you know, straight up reel it or just pump and reel it. But you always want to be moving it. It's not like fishing, you know, a flipping jig where it sits on the bottom. You always want to be moving this along. Junior eats swimming jig. We're not looking for little ones. Giant fish. Oh. Look at this thing. Oh, this right here is a pond hopper. Oh, come here, dude. Oh, little big wallowing pig. I think he's about 3. Get him. Look at the size of that mule right there. Look at how he ate it. Exact same as that small jaw, right on the top of his yab. And that is exactly where you want to fish to eat your jig. If you can have it, because it's really tough for them to throw it there. That's hard bone, and you get in there and you got yourself a fish. Man, what a day. Giant small jaw, and now big old largoony. Pond fishing. I tell you what, I'll go pond fishing any day if I can catch fish like this. Oh, pig! Giant pig! Oh boy, another pig! Just came out of this. Oh man, oh man, what a pig. Oh, come here. Are you kidding me? No sooner than I let that last one go, dropped it back in and boom, he ate it. I love it. Another one bites my jig. Another one bites my jig. Look at the yap on that dude. Awesome, awesome bucket. See ya. Man, this is the coolest thing about the sport of fishing, is just figuring them out. You know, all the time people ask me, what's your favorite place to fish? What's your favorite kind of fish? And really my answer is I've probably fished bass more than anything else. My favorite thing about fishing is cracking the code, figuring out what they want. And today is a prime example of cracking that code. And people think, that's only something you do on a boat with all sorts of electronics and craziness. Well, even fishing a pond like this, that doesn't get a ton of pressure, you've got to crack the code. And we started with a fast moving bait, got a little reaction, slowed it down, and now keyed in on that swimming jig, and they're munching it. That is the dude right there. Just swims along and they munch it. Oh, smoked me. Smoked me. When you're fishing from the shore like this, I can't stress of how important it is to parallel that shoreline and basically just learn from the hints that fish give you. And what I mean by that is the last few fish have all come along the shoreline. And I honestly believe on this fishery and a lot of shoreline fisheries, a ton of the fish do the feeding along the shoreline because they're waiting for something to fall in, whether it be a frog jumping in or a crawfish under a rock. They're feeding along that shoreline. So the fish gave me a hint. I caught a few along the shoreline, and if one or two fish are in 3 or 4 feet of water, chances are most of the fish are in that angle. So it just makes sense that I can cast out in the middle and retrieve it back. But if all the fish are in 3 or 4 feet of water, a lot of my cast is going to be a dead cast. So I want to make sure I fire along that shoreline, keeping my bait in 3 or 4 feet of water. And as long as the fish are telling me that's where I need to be, that's where I'm going to keep my bait. Oh, giant. Oh, look at this thing. Oh boy, get over here out of the reeds. Look at this thing. Look at the size of this mule. Oh. Man, oh man. Whew. One thing for sure, this pond seems to have one of two things, either beasts or babies. But I'll tell you what, I will weed through a few of those babies to catch these beasts. And yet again, hooked in the perfect spot with that little swim jig. Oh. It is amazing the difference that subtle little adjustments will make. I mean, you go through here with their crankbait, you're thinking, they're all gonna eat it, or an ocho. I mean, how can they say no to an ocho? Well, go through with that swim jig, and that's exactly what they want today. But one thing I've learned year after year is that's what they want today, but that doesn't mean that's what they want tomorrow or even an hour from now. Fish are an ever-changing species, and as long as you change with them, you'll get the result you're looking for. Awesome. Ooh. Whew. See ya. The real key when it comes to swimming a jig like I am here today is you have to get that word jig out of your head. I mean, I'm popping it every once in a while and jigging it a bit, but when you think of a jig, you think of a bait that you're, fishing off the bottom like this. Not at all. When you're swimming a jig, cast it out, and it's more like, a crankbait or a spinnerbait, basically. But that bait, you feel it, and you feel that little tung, 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 that thump of those little rage claws as I swim it through the water. Pair it up with a super sensitive rod and use braided line. I've used, Power Pro braid here, and I got it paired up with a Kumar, and I can feel every little thump as that bait swims through the water. And that is precisely what the fish are feeling. I mean, they feel that thump, 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 and they feel it in their lateral line. and it feels good. And they get closer and they feel doo-doo-doo, and they get closer, doo-doo-doo. Where? There it is. They eat it. You know, one of the keys with this style of fishing is basically just fishing what you have in front of you. And what I mean by that, when you're in a boat, a lot of times you'll key in on certain patterns. You know, hey, we're catching fish off of wood, or we're catching fish off of boat docks, or we're catching fish off of reeds, and you have the, you know, the luxury just to fish that type of structure. But when you're stranded on shore like I am here today, you do not have that luxury. So a successful shore angler learns to fish what they have in front of them. And you know, no matter what it is, I mean, I'll swim this jig along in open water. If I see some reeds, I might dunk in those reeds. I throw up against a dock, tickle it over some rocks, whatever's in front of me, I'm gonna fish. I'm gonna take advantage of my time here on the water. And although I can't be as picky as I would be in a boat, I'm gonna fish what's in front of me. And as you can see, the results are working out so far. Oh yeah, another real important tip. Bring your rain jacket. I mean, these are the simple things that I leave in my boat and take for granted. But today, as a shore angler, no rain jacket, not smart. Truly not very smart at all. I don't think this rain's going away. Oh, another time. Oh, this is a huge fish. This is a huge fish. This is a really big fish. This is a triple sow cow. Look at the size of this huge. No, come here, dude. Come here. Come here. Give me your yap. Oh, give me your yap. Ah, I gotcha. Oh, I love it. Awesome, awesome, awesome beast right there. That, oh, ladies and gentlemen, is a finned freak of nature. Oh, look at that thing. Hooked just like you want him, again, right in the top of his yap. Oh, that is a pig. I don't care where you're fishing. Oh, from a boat, from shore, from an airplane, it doesn't matter. That right there is a triple sow cow. Oh, see you later. Oh, got a few hours in the morning, you know, probably hook up the big boat. Let's go to a pond. We'll try and hammer out a show. This is a good day at the office. Awesome. Maybe they want the crank now that it's raining. There we go. Smoked it. Man, oh man, this is a lesson in fish biology today. I started on the crank and you know, wasn't really getting a lot of reaction out of it. Switched that swimming jig, started catching a bunch of fish. Now, believe me, this is not a big fish, but it's amazing how fish change. As I always say, day to day, hour to hour. This rain has started, picked up the crank, and I just swam that jig through here for the last, 20 minutes with nothing. Pick up that crank on the second cast, dunk, I catch one. There's another one, there's another one. You're kidding me, man. Now these are all little fish so far. But you're watching it happen right here. This is what gets me going about fishing, figuring them out. One of the coolest things about this little tilapia wake bait, and the reason that I tied it on this morning, is its versatility. If I steady retrieve with my rod tip down, it'll go down about a foot. Now, if I put my rod tip up, it basically turns into a full-on wake bait and sits right below the surface. Why is that such an advantage when you're fishing from shore? Well, think about it. If I get snagged halfway back in a boat, I just go to the other side of it and pop it off. I can't do that when I'm fishing from shore. So what I'll do is I'll just crank that bait along, and if I start to feel it, hitting the bottom and I start to get concerned like it's gonna get hung up, I just point that rod tip up and turn it into a wake bait. So basically what it does is it makes your entire cast effective. Not only effective at not losing baits, but it looks good to fish, no matter what you're doing. Whether you're waking it or cranking it, it works. Come on, just give me one 5-pounder on this thing. It'll be phenomenal. Oh, big fish. Oh, he smoked it. Smoked that crankbait. Look at him. Wallowing beast. He smoked that little live target tilapia wake bait. Come here, dude. Come here. Look at that dude right there. Awesome. If today's show isn't a lesson in fish biology, I don't know what is. You always have to change with these fish. Don't get stuck thinking this is the one lure that's gonna catch them all the time. There's no one bait that works all the time, but there's a whole bunch of good baits. And we have gone through a few of them today. Of course, the Ocho is a great bait. Then we had most of our action come on that swimming jig. But the bait we started with, that little live target tilapia, seems to be the ticket this afternoon. As soon as that rain started coming, they're on the munch for that crankbait. Fishing in the rain, it doesn't get any better than that. Get out to your local pond and lay the smack down on some of these bad boys.
Dave fished for 3 hours and 23 minutes, made 416 casts, and caught an astonishing 13 fish. Once again, Dave proved how insane he is. 1 minute he's telling us to tread lightly on the bank not to spook the fish, and the next minute he's screaming with excitement over a big bass. Maybe Sir Shouts-a-Lot should tune into his own show more often. And that's the score. Now it's time for the facts. Every single fish in this show ate one of two baits, a live target tilapia wake bait fished on a 7'6" Shimano Kumara crankbait rod paired with a Shimano core and spooled up with 14-pound fluorocarbon, or a swim jig fished on a 7'2" medium-heavy worm and jig rod paired with a Shimano Chronarch CI4 Plus, spooled up with Timber Brown 50-pound Power Pro Super Slick line. Now you've got the facts.